Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all in our congregation, in our virtual congregation on live stream, in our other virtual congregation on Zoom. We are so happy to be able to share Shabbat together. It is my great honor to invite up Rabbi Jessica Lenza to the Bima to help us light the Shabbat candles. Rabbi Lenza is teaching our conversion studies class, and more than that, she's a friend and a teacher in our community. Okay.
You know me, I like to bring the entertainment. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadliknen shel Shabbat.
And together we say,
Amen.
Thank you. We begin our service with words of song, words of joy. We're on page 12, Lechu Neranana. Come, sing with us.
Lechu Neranana l'Adonai, Nariah, Litzul Yisenu. Lechu Neranana l'Adonai, Nariah, Litzul Yisenu. Nikan mafana betona, izmirot narialo. Lakunen ranena ladonai, naria letzul yishenu. Nikan mafana betona, izmirot narialo. El Gadol Adonai umelech Gadol al kol Elohim asher miyado mekre aretz v'to'afot harim lo asher lo hayam vehu asahu v'yabeshet yadav yatzaru ki hu Eloheinu v'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruchu shemo בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומעולם מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים, איי איי איי, אדון השמיים עשה, הוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירם הים ולא ay 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 yanai lanai lai yanai yanai lai yanai yanai ay yanai 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 ay yanai yanai lai yanai yanai lai yanai 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 lanai lai yanai 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 lanai ay yanai lanai yai yai dai dai yai lai lai yai yai lai 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 yai lai lai lai. La 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 lechadodi, ya la 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 likrakala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat nekabela, Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet, L'tilai, Yadadai, Yadadadada l'chadoni, Yadadadada l'ikrakala, Yadadadada penei Shabbat, Penei Shabbat nekabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof na'aseh b'machshavat tchila, yai lai lai, ya la 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 l'chadoni, ya la 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 l'ikrakala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat nekabela, Kivarech kumi uri, shidar beri, Kivod Adonai, alayich nikra, yai bye bye, ya la 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 l'chadoni, ya la 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 l'ikrakala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Boi v'shalom, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגלה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יא לה 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 לך דודי, יא לה 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 לקרא כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת לקבלה, יא לה 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 לך דודי, יא לה 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 לקרא כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת לקבלה, יא לה 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 לך דודי, יא לה 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 לקרא כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת לקבלה.
Shabbat Shalom. What a way to warm up the service. I feel so ready to welcome Shabbat. But before we really do that officially, I want to welcome my clergy partner, Cantor Bruce Rubin. You'll be with me this summer, and I'm so happy to welcome you back on the Bima. It's a thrill. And now we can welcome each other. Turn to somebody you know, you don't know. Say Shabbat Shalom. Take a minute. We continue our service. We're on page 22, Tov Lehodot. It means how good it is to give thanks, and it sure is.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון. עלי עשור, עלי נבל, עלי היגיון, בכינון, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן, רנן, טוב להודות לאדוני, וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. מה גדלו מעשיך מעולם ומחשבותיך. מה גדלו מעשיך מעולם ומחשבותיך.
Shabbat Shalom. The Torah portion this week is called Chukat, laws. In it, we find a fateful story of Moses and Aaron. The Israelites are wandering in the desert and they're complaining, like they do. We don't have food, we don't have water, you should have left us to die in Egypt, you know. Upon God's instructions, Moses strikes a rock twice with his staff, and water pours out of the rock for the people to drink. Next thing you know, God says this: because you did not trust me, God, enough to affirm my sanctity in the sight of the Israelite people, therefore you shall not lead this congregation into the land that I have given them. There it is. One sentence. And God tells Moses that he is not going into the promised land. Moses, the great activist of Torah, who separated from his mother at birth, who grew up to challenge Pharaoh himself, who helped to part the Red Sea, who led us out of Egypt, who ascended Mount Sinai, who received the Ten Commandments, who held the tablets of the law in his very hands, will not be in the promised land, ever. And for what? Hitting a rock incorrectly? The rabbis do intellectual backflips to try and find a reason, a justification for the punishment. Why? How can we justify this divine decree? The rabbis say that maybe Moses didn't listen to God's commands directly. He was supposed to speak to the rock, not hit the rock. Okay. But still, the punishment seems pretty over the top, in my opinion. Or the rabbis say that Moses lost control of his temper, that everyone knows anger kills the foolish person. Okay, fine. Maybe he did. Maybe he lost it a little, but still. Or they say that Moses spoke falsely to the Israelites, that he deceived them intentionally. One, that doesn't sound like the Moses I'm familiar from Torah, right? He's much more of a truth to power sort of person than a deceiver. But two, so? For that, you're going to bar perhaps the greatest leader of our people with unthinkable severity bordering on cruelty? I don't think so. So tonight I want to tell you my interpretation, a different interpretation of why we have this story in Torah about Moses not being able to enter the promised land. I think it exists for an important reason, and that reason is to remind us that injustice is a core part of the human experience. Injustice is real. People are sometimes horribly wronged. Individuals do not always get what they deserve. Meritocracy is sometimes mythological. I detest that Moses doesn't get to enter the promised land. Without him, we'd still be in Egypt. Without him, we wouldn't be singing Micha Mocha in a few minutes on the shores of the Red Sea. Without him, we wouldn't be telling the story of our liberation from Egypt at Pesach. Moses, in many ways, is the most important leader in Torah, and he doesn't get to go in the promised land. Unfair. And yet, I am glad this unresolved, unjust story is in Torah, because much in our world is also unresolved and unjust. Anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish thinking is unfair. It's wrong. It doesn't make sense. It puts us in danger. Anti-queer thinking is unfair. It's wrong. It doesn't make sense. It puts us in danger. Anti-black thinking is unfair. It's wrong. It doesn't make sense. It puts us in danger. Anti-woman thinking is unfair. It's wrong. It doesn't make sense. And it puts us in danger. For the first time, tomorrow will be considered a national holiday, Juneteenth, the day that commemorates the end of slavery. It doesn't undo the injustice of the past, but it does name it. That's what Torah is doing, recognizing that injustice is a part of our lives. The denial of Moses into the promised land breaks me, not just for him, but because it's symbolic for us. Redemption is never guaranteed. Justice is not always served, nor is it necessarily fully served. It is part of the human condition. Torah testifies to that truth, not as a means to pacify us, as a means to activate us. We don't need to find intellectual justification for God's decree. Rather, we need to recognize that injustice happened then, and it still happens now. What's interesting to me is that Moses does not stop being Moses after God's decree. He knows he is doomed not to achieve his goals. He knows he's never getting into the land of Israel. But the Torah doesn't end with Parashat Chukat. There are chapters and chapters more to go, and Moses keeps going, doing what he always has. He leads towards redemption as best he can. He continues the work. May we be inspired by Moses, never quitting the work, even and especially in the face of injustice. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, page 28. Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishene itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakohavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono boreyom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uben laila Adonai Tzvaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Hamariv Haravim. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסתיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We sing the song of freedom, song of redemption and joy, page 40, Mi Chamocha.
Yai bye bye da bye da bye 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 bye. Yai bye da 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 da. Yai lie 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 la 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 la. Lie 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 la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha netav hakodesh, nora tehilot osef elem, nora tehilot osef elem. מלכותך רעו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה ליאנו ואמרו, זה ליאנו ואמרו. אדוני עמך, bye, 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 yeah, bye, 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 bye. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו, אדוני, אלוהינו, לשלום, לשלום. השכיבנו, השכיבנו, Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. Hamideinu shomreinu l'chayim, u'l'shalom, u'l'shalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ufrosalinu, sukat shomecha, Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, l'shalom, Adonai, Eloheinu, Shabbat, et ha-Shabbat, asod et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם, ברית עולם, ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת, שבת וינפל.
We turn to the Amidah. We're on page 46. Please rise.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach, ufia that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el ha'gadol, ha'gibor v'hanora, Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם יזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue silently, either with the prayer on the page or the prayer in your heart.
Shalom, shalom bimrovav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'achol Yisrael, ve'yimru amen. Uyase Shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael,
Amen indeed. We think about those who are in need of healing of the body, the mind, the spirit, like so many in our community are. We offer our prayers to Frida Spivak, Jana Cox, Karen Gouchard, Susan Agrest, Jim, Richard, Sharon, Bobby, Denise Gorham, Mary Corrigan, Fran Gorham, Harriet Zimmer, Bob Zimmer, Janet Richardson, Jake Jacobson, Paul Kaplan, Michael Simon, Janet Schuldiner, Sarah Dreyfus, Theodore Williamson, Marion Bartholomew, Bruce Levinson, Derek, Julie Morgan, Randy Sobelman, Martha Steinman, Norma Pomerantz, Baby Bell, Dom, Sharon, David, Shelley, Philip, Francesca Ambrosini, Ellen, Rue, Miriam, Susan, Carol, Alana, Ralph, Carlos. Are there additional names at this time? Mishaberach Avotinu v'imotinu, Avraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaCholim. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And together we say, Amen.
Mishaberach Avotenu, Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So we transition from sorrow to joy in an instant. Such is the Jewish way. This is the part in our service where we share simchas, good news, happy things. They could be anything, a birthday, an engagement, a new pet. I don't know. We've had it all. Does anyone have any good news they want to share tonight? Sandy, start us off. A major birthday next week. Mazel tov, Yom Huledet Sameach. We're so happy for you. We hope we can celebrate. Remind us again next week. Next week.
No, I won't be here next week.
Okay, we'll miss you. I'll say it anyway. You'll be celebrating. Okay, that's a good reason. Any other good news want to share with us?
I'm thrilled. This is my first Shabbat service in person in, I don't know, like 18 months.
Amazing. So for those of you watching that can't hear, Rabbi Lenza shared this is her first Shabbat in person in 18 months. That's amazing. I know how meaningful that is. So welcome. We're so glad you're with us, really. Yes.
I got to see my grandson for the first time last week in 2.5 years.
Oh, these reunions are amazing. Seeing your grandson. Too long. It's been too long, really. We turn to page 282 for Aleinu, and we rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומי משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We turn now to Kaddish on page 294 as we mourn those whom we've lost recently or at this time in years gone by. We recall the memories of Bunny Zimmer, Gladys Schuker, Robert Friedman, Bernice Shore, Dan Francescan, Robert Carr, Jack Milstein, David Schlanger, Marilyn Berliner, Trudy Owett, Elliot Levine, Joanne Raskus, Reina Ragonetti, Jean Abrams, Jerry Horwitz, Barnett Berliner, Dorothea Francescan, Susan Brown, Joyce Wallace, Joan Holland, Lillian Stein, Stanley Rennick, Raya Yeshina. We mourn for the yahrzeits of Eileen Draluk, Carol Kahn, Jenny Kleinman, and Samuel Klurfeld. Are there additional names at this time? We rise for Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'omei al maya. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmi v'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata, shirata, tushbecha v'nechmata, da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael.
So a few announcements before we do Kiddush and Mozi. We, in honor of Pride Month, we're having a queer text study on Saturday. I believe it's June 26th, not this weekend, but next. We hope you'll join us on Zoom at 10. It's going to be really interesting. We want to wish a huge mazal tov to Ben Goldberg, whose bar mitzvah is happening tomorrow in this sanctuary, and to his family. And we continue with Kiddush and Mozi. Yes. If you're at home, please raise your glass with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
And I look forward forward to the day when we can each have a piece of the challah and pass it around, but I don't think we're quite there yet. We close our service with words of joy, blessing, and gratitude. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Ken Yehi Ratzon.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra V'et Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'achamech Kifot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noma Vehu Haya Vehu Omer Vehu Yiyeh B'tifara Vehu Yiyeh B'tifara Vehu Echad V'yein Sheni Laham Shilo Lahachbirav V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit
V'lo ha'oz
V'hamisra V'lo ha'oz V'hamisra V'hu Eli V'chai Go'ali V'tzur Chavli B'yetzara V'hu Nisi Umanosli V'nat Kosi V'yom Mekra V'nat Kosi V'yom Mekra V'yahado Akid Ruchi V'yetishan V'yayira V'yimruchi Geviyati Adonai li V'lo ira Adonai li V'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Wait. Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you as well. Shabbat Shalom. Really nice.
Thank you, Dimitri. It was
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you.
Have a wonderful trip next week.
Looking
Enjoy your
forward.
father.
Yes, I will. I haven't seen him in 2 years as well, so that'd be really nice. Yes. Enjoy your summer here.
Thank you, I will.
Very good. Hi, how are you doing? Shabbat Shalom. Nice meeting you as well. Lovely meeting you.